I'll ensure that I'll share the recording video of you to your mail ID so that you can replay and see if you have any doubts, you can get it clarified. So I think everybody should be seeing the syllabus in your displays. Yes, so the syllabus is visible. Basic Electrical Engineering W18152.
Yes, sir.
Everyone is able to see the syllabus.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, fine. The subject code is W18152. The name is Basic Electrical Engineering. So you have 3 credits for this paper, and you know what is meant by LTPC. LTPC is lecture, tutorial, practical, credit. So lecture, it is the weightage is 3. There is no tutorial and there is no practical for the subject. So the total credit is going to be 3. So it is 3 plus 0 plus 0, it's going to be 3. Okay, understand this is a 3 credit paper. So after you write your exams and if you get your grades, you will have 3 credits added to your grades. Okay. So the objective is to introduce basic electrical circuit, so how to solve problems using theorems, how to study the working principle of electrical machines and power converters, and how to understand about the low voltage electrical installation. So this is the objectives of the learning the subject. So upon completing the subject, you should be able to do these things. And see, as I told you, unit 1 and 2 is going to be completely electronics based, electronic circuit based, and it is going to be fully problematic, and it is very, very simple. If you remember the concept, it's going to be very, very easy. I'll make it easy for you. And unit 3, 4, 5 is going to be completely electrical. We are going to learn about machines. So first, unit 3, we'll learn about transformer and then DC machine. Then in unit 4, we'll learn about AC machine. Unit 5, we learn about the power converters and installations. This is how the syllabus is framed for you. And upon completing all the 5 units, you should be able to analyze the DC and AC circuit. These are the outcomes. You should be able to simplify them using the theorems. You should understand how electrical machines work, how power converters work, and you should be able to understand the components of low voltage electrical installations. Okay, so these are the 3 textbooks they have prescribed. So very, very important. All the 3 textbooks are very good. So I will send you the ebook of all the 3 textbooks, and I'll also share my notes with you. So in case if you have any doubts, you can take it as a reference. See, my notes is only a reference to you, and you should not completely depend only on my notes. So all these textbooks are very, very good, and try to solve as many problems from all these 3 textbooks. I will share all the textbooks with you. You can download them and use it. And reference books, in case additional concepts you want to learn or additional problems you want to learn, you can study from those reference books. So textbook or the textbooks are going to be your major sources of study, and reference book in case if you need extra problems or in case if you want to learn something additional, you are free to do that by referring all these reference textbooks. Okay. So I have taken all the concepts mostly from these 3 textbooks only, predominantly from textbook 1 and 2. Okay. The concepts everywhere it's going to be same. It's all going to depend on how we are going to apply the concept when we are going to solve the problems in basic electrical engineering. So hereafter I'll be calling the subject as BW, basic electrical engineering. So short form is BW. So we'll refer BW later. And we are going to start with unit 1. So unit 1 is going to be basic circuit analysis. So we are going to start with Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, resistors in series, parallel, mesh analysis, node analysis, phasor diagram, power, power factor, energy. So this is going to be unit 1, completely mathematical and very, very interesting also. So if you understand it, it's going to be, and you will enjoy doing the problems. Problems are going to make you think a lot. Okay. And unit 2 is going to be theorems. How I'm going to apply network theorems, and I'm going to simplify my circuit. So if a complex circuit is given, how am I going to simplify the circuit using network theorem? See, in network, let's see voltage, current division, source transformation, star to delta, delta to star. See, these things we learn in unit 1 itself. So these are common for all the electronic circuits. So these first line, what I underline, voltage and current division, source transformation, star to delta, delta to star. I'll be teaching it in unit 1. So unit 2 purely we'll be reading only about theorem, Thevenin's theorem, Norton theorem, superposition theorem, maximum power transfer theorem, and reciprocity theorem. So is that clear how we are going to approach the subject? So unit one will have additionally unit one plus first line of unit two. Because the first line of unit two is going to be related to unit one. So I'm going to teach that along with unit one. And second unit, we will have all the theorems alone. Okay, Thevenin, Norton, superposition, maximum power transfer, and reciprocity. One and two are related. So if you don't understand unit one, you cannot proceed to solve problems in unit two. So we'll spend more time in unit one and unit two. It's going to be very, very simple if you understand unit one. So that is how your syllabus is going. Syllabus is framed. Okay, anybody is having doubts in the syllabus, any clarifications you require, you can ask any doubt if you have in the syllabus. If you don't have anything, we'll start with unit one. Is anybody having doubts in the syllabus on how the units are framed and other things? No, right?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
Okay, okay. We'll start with unit one. See, yes, yes. Somebody called me. Nothing. Okay, so we'll start with unit one. Unit one is basic circuit analysis. Okay, so we'll see this introductory class will be learning about the basics only. We'll not go into problems today. We'll just learn what is the basic terminologies we require to understand for solving circuits. The first thing is work. So what is work done? So see the definition. It is the work is done when an object moves in the field of force. So I will take an example. When you have an electric field, I assume you have two conductors here. This conductor is positively charged. This conductor is negatively charged. I have an electron here. So if I'm going to move this electron from this position to this position, a work is done. So when an object is moved in the field of a force, you have work being done. Very simple. If you are going to move from one place to another, you are spending some energy and doing some work, right? So work is done when an object moves in the field of a force. What force we are having? We are having electrical force here. An electrical force will be acting from always from positive terminal to negative terminal. So if you move electron in this direction or against the force, you will have to do some work. So doing work means what? You are spending some energy. Energy in moving the particle from one position to another position. Is that clear? What is work? Now
Yes,
energy.
sir.
What is energy? Energy is the capacity to do work. So only when you have energy, you can do the work. So only when athletes have energy, they can run, right? So energy is the factor which will help you to do the work. And energy depends on how you do your work effectively. So if you have more energy, the work is done faster. So if athletes have more energy, they can run fast in a quicker amount of time. So if the energy possessed by them is going to be less, definitely they will take longer time. So energy is going to be depend on energy is going to the work done depends on energy. And the formula for energy, energy is force into distance. So in this electrical force, how much distance I'm going to move the particle? So energy W is given by force into distance. Can someone say what is the unit of energy? Unit of energy?
Joule.
Jules, sir. Jules.
Jules.
Joules.
Joule.
Yes. And what is the unit of force?
Newton.
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 Newton,
Newton. What is the unit of distance?
Meter.
meter,
Meter.
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 Yes, so joules can also be written as Newton meter. Okay, the equivalent another unit for joules is going to be Newton meter. Just multiply the unit of both. For force, it is Newton. For distance, it is meter. So joules is also going to be equivalently, you can call it as Newton meters. But joule is very predominant term which we relate with energy because we are going to credit the scientist who invented this. So we are going to give the credit for joule for being the unit of energy. Same way, frequency we have hertz. For voltage, we have volts. For current, we have amperes. So all these units were named because of their contribution to electrical or electronic circuit. So next one, power. The energy and power are not same. So power is going to be energy by time. So energy done in a particular time is going to be power. Okay, so time will come into picture here. So power is going to be rate of change of energy. So energy is W, right? So power is going to be dW by dt. So the unit of power, it is very famous. What is the unit of power?
Watt, sir.
Watts. Yes, the unit of power is watts, or by the formula you see it is energy by time. Unit of energy is joules, unit of
Joules.
time is seconds, so it is going to be joules per second. Okay, joules per second or watts. See, energy does not depend on time, but power it depends on time. Okay, so power is definite. It is going to depend on time. So remember that, and we will be finding out power in electronic circuits. So we'll be finding out power in the circuits if the question is demanding that. And remember, power has a dependence on time. Okay. Next one is Coulomb's law. So if you have any two charge particles Q1 and Q2 and they are separated by some distance d in free space or any medium, then the force of attraction or repulsion is given by this should be familiar to you. F is equal to Q1, Q2 by 4 pi epsilon into d square. So Q1 and Q2 are going to be the magnitude of charges, and epsilon is going to be the permittivity. And epsilon will have two terms, epsilon naught into epsilon r. Epsilon naught value is constant. We know this 8.853 into 10 power minus 12. And epsilon r is going to be the relative permittivity of the medium. So usually, if you consider air medium, epsilon r value is going to be 1. So if you consider some other medium like water or any other medium, epsilon r value will be not equal to 1. It will be a higher value. So the force is going to depend on. So if you see the formula, force depends on charge, permittivity, and distance. So if the charges are going to be, if the Q value is larger, the force will be larger. If the medium is having a higher value of epsilon r, the force is going to be less. Because you see F is proportional to 1 by epsilon, correct? And the distance is going to be near, the force is going to be more. If the particles are far apart, force is going to be less. If the particles are 1 kilometer apart, the force is very, very small. If the particles are 100 meters apart, the force is going to be very, very large. So remember, force depends on charge, the magnitude of charge, the permittivity, and the distance. Okay, it is directly proportional to Q. It is inversely proportional to epsilon and D. Is everybody able to follow my English? Is that fine if I speak this way? Is anybody having a
Yes, sir.
problem in
Yes, sir.
understanding
Yes,
my
sir.
English?
Yes, sir.
Anybody, see if you are open to unmute yourself and you are free to suggest any difficulties you face in the online class. So, okay, so it is not like in online classroom, the only the teachers will speak, other students will be kept in mute. No, this subject is fully problematic, right? So unless you understand and ask more number of doubts, it is not going to make you clear, and you will be always in a confused state. And I again say one point: this subject, if you read it thoroughly, it is going to come in 7 semesters for you. So it will not leave you till the 8th semester. So it is in your hands and your efforts to understand the subject clearly without any confusion. Okay. So next one is potential
Sir, can
difference.
you repeat the Coulomb's law one time, sir?
Yes. See, Coulomb's law is going to relate, it's going to give an expression for how much force you have between charged particles. So assume you have two charged particles Q1 and Q2 in space, separated by separated by some small distance d. So the Coulomb's law states that if Q1 is positive, Q2 is negative, you will have force of attraction. If both are positive or both are negative, you will have force of repulsion. So the force is given by F is equal to Q1 into Q2 by 4 pi epsilon into d square. So F is proportional to the charges, magnitude of charges, and F is proportional to 1 by epsilon, or F is proportional to 1 by d square. So it is inversely proportional to the distance between the charges and the permittivity of the medium. The permittivity is something, the permittivity is defined for mediums which are insulators. Insulators, they don't conduct they don't conduct the electricity or current, right? The free space is an insulating medium. So the epsilon r for free space, they did experiments and found the value as 1. For other mediums like paper or mica or glass or water, epsilon r value will be relatively higher, which means that it will be even more difficult to conduct and make them produce current. Okay, so it depends on epsilon and d. Epsilon is product of epsilon naught and epsilon r. Epsilon naught is a constant for all mediums. This is epsilon naught, and this is epsilon r will vary from medium to medium. For air medium, epsilon r is going to be 1. For other medium, they will have different values of epsilon r. So is Coulomb's law clear? We will not be using this anywhere, but understand that it is involved by charges. and we know that current is flowing because of electron. Electron is a charge. So when two electrons are flowing through a wire, you always have force of repulsion between them, and that repulsion you can find it using Coulomb's law. Okay. Now potential difference. So potential difference is the work done in moving a positive charge from one point to another point. So I have a positive charge at point A. Okay, this is my point A. I have a another point B. So if I'm going to move this positive charge from A to B along this way, so that is going to do a work. So when you are going to move this positive charge from one point to another point, I'm going to spend some energy and I'm going to do a work to move this positive charge. So the amount of work done in moving the positive charge from one point to another point is going to be called as your potential difference. In colloquial terms, we call it as voltage, but the technical proper term for voltage is going to be potential difference. See, when this positive charge is moving from this point to this point, here point A will become lesser positive, point B will become more positive. So thereby you create a potential difference. Is that logic clear to everyone? Is
Sir,
it
no
clear
Yes,
doubt,
how?
sir.
Yes, yes,
Sir, when a positive charge is moved from A to B means only in electric field only potential difference is created, no, sir?
yes, yes. No, in general, see, only because of electric field you get potential difference, right? Both are related, right? So if you say
No,
voltage
sir.
potential difference, yeah,
If you take a positive charge from A to B in vacuum with
yeah,
no electric field means no potential differences formed, no, sir.
yes, that is for a medium. That is in a vacuum. But when you consider a wire, when you take a wired conducting wire, in that wire, if you move a positive charge from point A to point B, there that wire with a conducting medium, it is having finite boundary, right? So inside the wire, without applying electric field, you cannot produce voltage, right? What you say for a free space is absolutely correct. You don't have electric field there, but inside a finite conducting medium, you always have an electric field, which is going to give rise to what is called as potential. But potential is what we physically measure and see, right? So we use the term potential difference and we don't use the term electric field. Electric field is somewhat advanced, so we don't bother about electric field. We bother more about potential difference. Is that clarified to you? Is that fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Understood, sir.
See, and remember, potential difference, we take positive charge as your reference. We don't say any charge, we take positive charge as our reference. So if you take negative charge, the potential will be reversed. So potential difference will have magnitude and sign. Okay, be very clear. So if you move from A to B, or if you move from B to A, the potential is going to be different because the direction which you move is very, very important. See, my direction of precipitation is only from A to B. So along the direction, if I move, I'll have a positive potential. So if I'm going to oppose the direction of movement, I'm going to have a negative potential. Or understand, or you can say, you can think it like this: I am moving a positive charge from A to B means I can say it this way: I am moving a negative charge from B to A. That is also equivalent, so that the charge is maintained. Right? Law of conservation of energy is maintained. So when a positive charge is going to move from A to B, naturally a negative charge has to move from B to A to neutralize the charge. So in that case, VAB and VBA will be negative. They will be opposite in sign. Magnitude will be same because the amount of work done is going to be same, but how you move, that direction is going to change. That direction is going to be of importance to us. Okay, so in problems, what you do when you measure potential across 2 points A and B, when you measure VAB, assume it is 5 volt. If you measure VBA, it will be minus 5 volt because you are changing the direction in which you're going to measure the voltage. So please understand this. And potential difference, we call it as voltage. Okay, in electronic circuits, we simply call it as voltage, and it will have magnitude as well as sign. Okay. Now current. So voltage, after studying about voltage, we cannot leave current. So V and I are going to be the main contributing factors of electronic circuits. Now current. So when an electron is going to move in a finite conducting medium, we are going to, the flow of electron is going to cause you current. So how much electrons are going to move inside the conductor per unit time. So the rate of flow of charges per unit time is going to be current. So if you say 2 amperes of current is flowing, you can clearly find how many electrons are flowing in a particular amount of time. And you know the unit for charge is coulomb, and unit for time is second. So the unit for current is coulombs per second, or in general we call it as amperes. So current is going to be rate of flow of charge carriers to be specific, but we quantify the rate of flow of electrons as your charge. Okay, so we are going to consider the charge particles to be electron. So as I said, the direction of flow of electrons and the direction of flow of actual current in your circuit is going to be opposite. So if the direction is going to be opposite, you will have a negative sign. Okay, similar to your voltage, if the direction is going to be changed, you will have a negative sign coming to your current. The magnitude is going to be remaining same.
Sir, sir, I think you're struck, sir. Could not able to hear, sir.
Yes, sorry. The network, I had network issues. I'm back. So I'll present the screen. Sorry for the interruption. Yes, so we were seeing about current. Can anybody summarize what is the voltage and current what we were seeing? Can anybody summarize what is voltage and current so that we can proceed to the next one?
Sir, voltage is potential difference, sir. When a positive charge moves from one place to another in a wire, a potential difference is created. Colloquially, we call it as voltage, sir. Current
Okay,
is the flow of charges per unit time, sir.
okay. Anybody is having any clarification or doubts in this, or the terms clear to you? How what is voltage, what is current?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has doubts, you can put your views here by unmuting yourself. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the. I hope we don't have any doubt. So current. Both this AC, we have discussed in a basic your last week induction class also what is DC current and AC current, and it is not only for current, you will have a voltage also. But generally, we define it here and see whatever I define it here, it is applicable for both voltage and current. Okay, so be clear on that. Don't think it is only applicable for current. So direct current is called as DC, and as you people said in the induction program, direct current, the amplitude is going to be same. It is going to be constant. So I'm going to call I as IDC always. So when you draw the graph between time and current, you see that the current is always going to be constant throughout the entire time from minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is going to be DC. And is this waveform repeating or is this waveform changing?
No, sir.
No, sir.
It is
It
not
is not
changing, sir.
changing. It is not changing, right? So I say the frequency is zero here.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
What is frequency?
Yes, sir.
What is frequency?
From cycle per second.
Yes, Kirtana D. What is frequency?
Sir, it's number of cycles per second, sir.
Yes. Can you say an example for frequency? How many months we have in a year?
Well,
12, sir.
Is your year periodic? Is your year repeating? You following the same pattern every year?
yes, sir.
Yes,
It
sir.
starts with January, it ends with December. It again starts with January, it ends in December. So the period or frequency of a year is frequency of a months in a year is going to be. Can I say it is 12? The year is repeating with the 12 months, right? So same way, all the AC circuits have this component called frequency. Frequency is the repeating nature or repetitive nature. In DC, nothing is repeating. So I can say that the frequency of DC is going to be 0. Okay, remember in any circuit, if you are going to perform DC analysis, I'm going to make the frequency to be 0. It is independent. The circuit is going to be independent of frequency. For all the frequencies or for all the time, the value of current or voltage is going to be constant. Okay, so see here, I is equal to IDC. This I can be positive, negative, 0. But it cannot take an expression consisting of t. It cannot take I is equal to t square. I is equal to cos t. It cannot take because your DC current is independent of time. It is going to be constant throughout the entire time duration. Now the other type is going to be alternating current or AC. And this is a general form of AC current. I of t is equal to Im cos 2 pi ft. And you can also write I of t is equal to Im sine 2 pi ft. In AC, see, we use sine and cos interchangeably. Okay, we use both because they are periodic. They are repeating after a particular time, correct? So I of t is equal to Im cos 2 pi ft, or I of t is equal to Im sine 2 pi ft. So this Im is going to be the peak value of your current. It is called as maximum current or peak value of current, and F is going to be your frequency. Frequency is repeating measure of how much times the waveform is repeating. You know, frequency and time are inversely related. So F is equal to 1 by t, and t is the time period. So in generally, we will not measure directly frequency from the graph. We will measure the time period, and 1 by time period is going to be your frequency. And you know this term omega is the angular frequency, and given by omega is equal to 2 pi f. And can anybody say what is the unit of omega? Angular frequency?
Radians per second.
Radiance.
Yes, good. So the
Radians.
angular frequency is radians per second. Okay, so it is the name angular frequency means it is rotating. So rotating means angle. So it is going to be dependent on angle. And angle varies from 0 to 360 or 0 to 2 pi radians. So in degrees, we have 0 to 360. In radians, we have 0 to 2 pi. So that is going to be radians per second. We can say that if your motion is, if you are going to measure it along a time period, you will you will use the normal term f frequency. If you are going to say in terms of rotations, we'll be using the angular frequency omega. Okay, so this is going to be your waveform. You know, cos waveform will start at for 0, it will have maximum because cos 0 is 1, right? So from 0, it will have maximum value, and it will follow a periodic, it will vary periodically. Okay, and cos 90 is 0, so at 90 you will have a crossover, and cos 180 is -1, and cos 270 is 0. And I am plotting everything with respect to time. Okay, so this is going to be the plotting of your AC signal, and you see that the AC signal is varying periodically. So this is your time taken to complete one cycle. So this is going to be your capital T, and from capital T I can measure frequency is equal to 1 by capital T. Is that clear? So this is the basic AC signal. You represent AC signal in this way. Any doubt you have in alternating current? Any doubt in representing this alternating current?
No, sir.
In
Sir,
alternating
can you
current,
repeat, sir?
what which one you want to repeat?
Sir, from the frequencies.
See, frequency is you are going to frequency will clearly say how much cycles per second your signal is repeating, and frequency you will not measure directly from the waveform. We'll measure frequency from time period. See, this in this waveform, this portion of the waveform is repeating periodically. So you measure this time period. Assume if the time period is 2 seconds, frequency will be 1 by 2 hertz. So it is difficult to measure frequency from your waveform directly. You measure time period from your waveform. From time period, we'll be measuring the inverse of time period is going to be the frequency.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And in
Okay.
AC, in alternating current or voltage, three parameters are very, very important. One, I told you IM. What is IM? Peak current. And where will you mark IM? See here. The maximum current along the positive will be IM, and the maximum current along the negative will be minus IM. The peak to peak will be IM minus of minus IM, it will be 2 IM. Is it clear? In positive side,
Yes,
you
sir.
have 0 to IM. In negative side, you have 0 to minus IM. So if you take the peak to peak value of the signal, positive peak minus negative peak. Positive peak is IM, negative peak is minus IM. So IM minus of minus IM is going to be 2 IM. But we don't put 2 IM, we just put IM to indicate that this is going to be my peak value of current. So one parameter in alternating current is going to be peak current or voltage. Second parameter is frequency, F. And I told you how to find F. F is going to be 1 by T. And third one is going to be phase shift. See the expression what I have written now. I have added one more term called theta. And this theta is going to be your phase angle. I'll say a simple example. Assume all your buses are going to, you are going to take your college bus and come to college. The bus is starting at your house at 7 a.m., say, for example. It reaches the college by 8 a.m. So the duration of travel is 1 hour. Okay. Now the bus is due to traffic, the bus is coming to your house by 7:10. So naturally, when should it reach the college? When should it reach the college? If it is
8,
coming to your house by 7:10,
8.
8:10.
8,
Because
10.
assuming the duration of travel is 1 hour, it should reach your house by 8:10. So it should reach the college by 8:10. So actually, it should come to your house by 7, but it is actually coming only by 7:10 because of traffic. So the 10 minutes is going to be your time delay. It is the bus is delayed by 10 minutes, right? So same way you can understand this phase angle. The cos waveform, it should ideally start at maximum in at the zero. But because of some delay, it will be starting at a delayed portion. Is this diagram clear to you? See, this cos waveform should start at the maximum at zero. But because of some time delay, it is this time is shifted to here. So and this you see here, it is going to be your theta. So phase shift, I can say, it is the angle by which your entire AC current is shifted. It is the angle by which the entire AC current is shifted. If you put theta equal to 0, you will get back the previous expression. Im cos 2 pi f t. It will be your normal cos waveform. If you put theta is equal to 30, the cos waveform will have maximum value at 0, but now it will have maximum value only at 30 because it is shifted by 30. So see here the waveform is moving in which direction? See this waveform and this waveform. Maybe I'll minimize so that you can see both the waveform. See this waveform and this waveform. In which direction the waveform is moving? In
Right
which
side,
direction
sir.
you see the waveform is moving?
Right side.
Is it this way which I am drawing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are able to see the waveform moving this way from the comparing the two diagrams, this one and this one.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that means if the
Yes, sir.
waveform is moving towards your right, it means you're going to have yeah leading or lagging. The as a
Leading phase.
the
Leading.
the cos wave should be maximum at 0, but it is maximum only at 30 degrees. It is happening after 30 degrees. So it is leading or lagging.
Lagging.
Think and say. That's why I
Lagging.
said think and say. The case your bus should come at 7 a.m. But the bus is coming only at 7:10. It is leading or lagging?
Lagging.
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 Yes, lagging. Correct. So the first example is lagging. It is by theta. Lagging means it is running late by theta. But now understand the bus should come at 7 o'clock, but because it is a Saturday, the bus is coming at 6:45. What is the condition there? Leading or
Leading.
lagging?
Leading.
Leading.
Leading,
Leading.
sir.
Leading means the waveform will be advanced. So the zero should come, the maximum value should come only at 0, but already the maximum value has come here. So it is leading by an angle theta. Okay, so leading means angle will be positive, lagging means angle will be negative. So if I put in the expression cos 2 pi fdt, always you will put plus here, and this theta will have sign plus or minus. So always general expression you will have plus here, but this theta can be say 45 degrees or minus 45 degrees depending on lagging and leading. So understand that whenever you call the term phase shift, it is nothing to worry about phase shift. It is very, very simple. Phase shift means by how much your waveform is lagging or leading. Okay, so that is going to be the leading and lagging phase angles. And now we are going to see what is the phase shift between two signals. So if two signals are given like this, how will we the overall phase shift between the two signals? So don't worry about anything. You have to see what is inside the phase angle, because this 100 has no effect here. This 100t has no effect here. All is bothered about this 40 only, because 40 is going to be your phase angle. See, our reference is always going to be the positive x-axis. So this is going to be our reference. So if I'm going to plot this V1, it is minus 40, means it is lagging. Lagging means you have to mark it below. You know, angles, when you go this way, it is positive, right? So when you go this way, it is negative. So it is minus 40 degrees. So I'm going to plot it this way. So I'm going to plot it here like this, minus 40. Okay. This is your voltage. Now see here, I1 is equal to 4 cos 100t plus 20. Plus 20 means leading. Positive angle value you will mark. You will mark the positive angle here. So what is the overall phase angle between I and V? From I to V, you go 20 minus of minus 40. So it is going to be 60 degrees. Is it clear how to find phase shift between the two signals?
Yes, sir.
Doubt?
Yes, sir.
Anybody is anybody is having doubt in finding the phase angle? See here, the phase angle is 60, or it can be minus 60 also. How do you say it is 60 or minus 60? I have written 60 there, but it can be minus 60 also. Both are correct. How can both be correct? How can both be correct?
Sir, if we see in clockwise and anti-clockwise, plus 60 and minus 60 will come, sir.
In okay, to some extent you are nearing the answer. Clockwise, anti-clockwise means where you are starting. See, if I start from I and if I measure the angle till V, then the phase shift is positive. 60, 20 minus of minus 40, 60. If I measure from V, if I end with I in this direction, minus 40, minus 20, you will have minus 60. So it depends on from which side I'm seeing. So if I look from I, the phase angle is 60. If I look from V, the phase angle is minus 60. Are you able to understand? The same phase
Yes,
angle,
sir.
Sir.
it depends on which voltage or which current you are going to take it as your reference point. So here, if I put 60 degrees as my angle, it is meaning that I am going to measure the phase angle from I to V. From current, I'm going to see how much voltage is shifted away from me. Okay. And this diagram you can draw only when both are same, both are cos or both are sine. If one is cos and one is sine, you have to convert them to same thing and then you have to find the phase angle. Okay, so understand the rule. If both are cos or both are sine, you can draw the diagram directly. If one is cos and one is sine, you have to convert them to either cos fully or convert them to sine fully and then solve. Okay, so that next problem is that way. See here, first current is I1 sine 600t minus 60. So, and I'm going to find between I1 and V the same voltage I'm taking. So, first voltage V, I have drawn minus 40. Is it clear? I have drawn minus 40. Okay. Now, see this current I1 is equal to 1.5 sine 100t minus 60. So, I have sine here. I have cos in voltage. So, I'm going to convert the sine into cos because I have drawn V. So, you know how to convert sine into cos. So, sine of this angle minus theta is minus 90 is going to be cos. So I'm going to write as cos of this angle minus 90. So, and these two are numbers I can add. So 1.5 cos 100t minus 150. So now I can draw the waveform for I1. See, I1 is minus 150, meaning that I should draw I1 also below the reference because I1 is negative. This is your minus 150 and this is your minus 40. So what is the phase angle between the two now? This total angle is 150. This angle is 40. So the remaining angle has to be 110, right?
110.
So if I measure from V to I, the angle will be 110. If I measure from I to V, the angle is going to be minus 110. So the phase angle depends on which direction you are going to measure. And remember, if I plot directly minus 60 and do the calculation, my phase angle calculation becomes wrong because I1 is fully in terms of sinusoidal signal and this one is fully in terms of cos signal. So they both have to be in same trigonometric angles. Otherwise, you cannot directly find the phasor diagram. Is this problem clear? Is
Yes,
this
sir.
Yes, sir.
thing clear? How to find the phase angle? See, we will not be studying them in depth, but whenever we draw phase angle, phasor diagram for any of the components in unit 3, 4, 5, we'll be coming back to the basics and see if the angle is positive, we'll be drawing above the reference. If the angle is negative, we'll be drawing below the reference. And reference is always going to be your positive x-axis. That is going to be our reference always. Okay, and this one is very basic. I'm not going to explain this. It is very simple. I'm going to convert this into a single term like this. Okay, I have cos of a minus b, for example, cos of a minus b minus sine of a plus b. So I'm going to convert this into a single term. So this conversion, you read it. I'm not going to explain it. See, this material, what I'm teaching, I'll be uploading into your classroom as soon as the class is over. So what you should do, see, when you don't in BW class, daily you have to revise what is taken in the class. So today we have nothing to solve actually as a problem, right? So from subsequent classes, if we are going to solve any problem, you have to daily download this material and daily solve the problem and see so that you will get more amount of practice. Today you have to download this material after I post it in your classroom. Just refresh whatever concepts we have seen. That should be enough for today. And see this problem number 2, you see. I'm not going to do it now. You see problem number 2 and this answer ends here. So if you have any doubts in problem number 2, we are going to see in the next class. Okay, so a small homework for you is try attempting problem number 2 and see if what method I have solved is understandable to you. And if any other simple method is there, please note it down. We'll discuss in the next class. So first problem is writing it into a single cos and single sine term. Second problem is simplifying that and writing it only as a single cos term. So both the answers are solved here. You have to just see whether whatever I have solved is correct or not. Okay. So this small thing I give you as a
Yes, sir.
task for the day. Now we'll go into our actual subject, resistance. Okay. So we have you everybody knows resistance is the ability of the component to restrict the flow of current.
Correct.
So resistance means the exact synonym for resistance is you are going to have some opposing force. So what will a resistance do? It is going to show some opposing force towards your current. Or in other words, I can say if you want to reduce the amount of current flowing through a device, you can add resistance to the circuit, the amount of current will be reduced. So resistance is denoted by this way in your circuits, and resistance will have a value of R. Unit of resistance is ohm. We represent ohm like this. I hope you're familiar with the representation. And the current flowing through a resistance creates voltage. And this current direction is always important because when it flows this way, see always in a resistance, current entering node is positive, leaving node is negative. This terminology, please don't change it. In a resistance, the current entering node is positive, leaving node is negative. This is going to be voltage across resistance V. If the current is entering this way, this will be positive, this will be negative. Okay. So whichever direction be the current flow, the current entering direction of resistance, the polarity is going to be positive, and the leaving node polarity is going to be negative because these basic things will be applying in our circuits. At that time, you should not have any confusion. So as we discussed in the bridge course, current causes voltage, voltage causes current. Both are going to be duals. I told you the name dual. Dual means you can get one from the other. So Ohm's law relates I and V. So Ohm's law says that at constant temperature in a linear device, the amount of voltage produced across a resistor is proportional to the amount of current flowing through it. So V is proportional to I. So the constant of proportionality is going to be R. R is called as resistance. The unit of resistance is going to be ohms. And how will you find the power across a resistor? You have three formulas for power. First formula, power is voltage into current. And from Ohm's law, you can write I is equal to V by R. So it is going to be V squared by R. So if you want to find the power in terms of current, substitute for V as IR. So IR into I, you get I square R. So power across a resistor, you have these three formulas. Power is voltage into current, or V square by R, or I square into R. So maybe I think with this we'll stop today's class. If any doubts so far, you can ask. The floor is open for doubts and discussion. We have hardly